Hey, my name is Sam Blackburn, and I chose to do my project and presentation on activity and event risk management, and I hope you enjoy. So we're going to kind of have a training session for risk management. We're going to kind of guide you through things and teach you a few things along the way here, but a little bit about risk management. This is something that I chose for this because it is so important for any kind of job setting, whether you're in a business of some sort, whether you're an athletic director of a sports program, whether you're a coach. There's always going to be risk management involved. Risks are going to be taken for any kind of job, and this is going to be kind of a little step-by-step guide on how to kind of have a plan for all those risks and managing them. Like I said, there will always be risks. It's part of any job. We're going to have to manage them, and oftentimes you have to prepare for the worst because you just never know what's going to happen. So the environment I'm kind of choosing is for a high school sports setting. This is something that doesn't really seem like there'd be a lot of risk going along with it, but like anything, there is going to be risk, and it's just going to be at different levels than some other things would. Instead of being in a big corporation where you're dealing with millions of dollars, you may be just dealing with maybe a few $1,000s, or just fundraising or getting uniforms, or dealing with facilities or something like that. So just as I said, there's always risks, just at different levels. There's financial risks, risks dealing with your facilities, risks with injuries, sicknesses, whether that's for players, coaches, staff, whatever. And then inclement weather for games, getting games postponed, canceled. And then something that we're learning, in the process of learning a lot about right now, is a pandemic. That's not something we saw coming, and here we are, kind of getting out of it a little bit here, but that's another risk that we're gonna have to prepare for more in the future. As you can see right here, I have a reference at the bottom, and that's in a few of my other slides as well. So starting off, we're gonna do a little activity real fast, just to get you kind of thinking. So if you had a team program and there was a sudden loss of finances from a budget cut, or maybe it's just a fundraiser that did not raise enough money, what would your response be? And I'll let you just take a few moments to think about that. All right, so I'm going to jump into the next slide and show you kind of what my response is for this scenario. So my answer for this is there must be a risk management plan ready to go to decide what you're going to do. You must have a plan B. And for this particular setting, I would have some kind of savings, some kind of last minute fundraiser that we're able to do to compromise for the lack of income that we're gonna have coming in due to the budget cut, or the fundraiser that didn't quite go how we wanted it to. So I've got a few steps here that deal with risk management and the things that you're gonna have to do to have a plan set for all this. So the step one is identifying the risks. You need to identify and know what the risks are that you're gonna be dealing with. And you can't count on anything. You have to go with everything and be ready for anything and everything, even things that don't seem quite realistic. I mean, 8 months ago, a year ago, if we would have said that this pandemic with COVID-19 was going to happen, I don't think we would all had a real plan for that. And so we kind of had to improvise the last 6-8 months or so in dealing with all this. Here's my reference again, right there. So step number 2 is we have to figure out how likely these risks are. We got to know what the chances of these things happening are going to be. I mean, a player being injured, if you're a football coach, you have to really count on that happening. That's most likely going to happen. Do you have that backup player that's ready to come in and play? Does he know the plays? Does he know what to do? Does he know right from wrong? Inclement weather. I mean, if you're a basketball coach, weather's not going to be a big issue for you. If you are a football coach and there's lightning coming, that's something that is going to stop your game. And like I said, a worldwide pandemic, That is something that's not very likely, but then again, it happened this year, so we gotta be ready for something. So step number 3, we gotta have a plan. What actions are you going to take when something happens? When weather does postpone a game? When can you make that game back up? Are you gonna be able to make that game back up? Is there a set date when you're able to? Are there rules that have influence on that? That's just a little example of something that you're gonna have to plan around. It's not just an easy decision. You're gonna have to put some thought into it and do some research about these things. And then step 4 is you gotta have a backup plan. What is the plan B when your fundraiser doesn't go well, when your action plan is not working as expected? You have to have backup plans and things on paper in the back of your mind that you're gonna be able to initiate and go with when the things that maybe on your plan aren't going as quite as well as you'd hoped. Be ready for anything. I've said that already through this slideshow. So based on those steps, based on our discussion here, what I've told you so far, I'm gonna just give you another question, kind of like I did a few minutes ago, about what you would do in that kind of situation. So based on what we've now gone over, what would you do if your budget was unexpectedly cut for your team, if you were a coach of some kind of team? Take a minute and think about that, and I'll kind of show you my response here momentarily. All right, so let's jump into my response here. So if this were to happen, I would of course go to my risk management plan, which is what we've been talking about. Initiate the plan that I have in a situation like this. I have all my plans set out. I have a plan set for if we don't have quite enough money. What is my plan B? I would have networked with the correct people to have a fundraiser golf tournament set up to give us those funds. Now that's not just something that happens overnight. That's not just something that happens in a day. Like as I said, I would have networked with the right people to make sure that this happened in advance, so that in a few days we could get this thing set up and going, so that in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we can have this plan going and this tournament going, so that it's not taking a big we're not taking a big loss from our funds or anything. We're able to get those uniforms that we need, or travel to where we want to travel to, whatever it may be. So a little summary of everything that we've kind of gone over now. At the beginning, I talked about how risks are going to be a part of every job, no matter if you're the CEO of a multi-billionaire, billion-dollar company, or if you're just the athletic director of a little high school organization. A risk management plan can keep you in gear when something goes wrong. If you don't have a risk management plan, something goes wrong, what do? You're just kind of winging it? If you have a plan, you will already know what to do when that something does not go right. And then follow the 4 steps to have a functioning risk management plan that I went over. There are 4 simple steps, and if we follow those, there's no reason why when something does not go the way we expect it to, we won't be ready for it. And lastly, expect and plan for the worst. I've highlighted that a few times. And the example that I used was COVID-19, how we're in this pandemic, we're finally kind of getting out of it. But 6-8 months ago, a year ago, if you would have said that this was all going to be happening, we wouldn't really know what to do. Most people wouldn't anyways. And that's something that I'm learning how to deal with in the future. And whenever I'm an athletic director, a head coach, I'm going to have a plan for something kind of like this. So here are my references that I used to give me an idea of what I was doing here. Project Manager, and then I found just a file online about what a school was doing with their risk management plans. And then of course I have on the bottom here a principal that talked to me about a risk management plan and what he kind of sees about it, how he's implemented his, and what he's done to get his made up. So that is my presentation on risk management. and I hope you learned a lot. And I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.